Hey everyone, welcome to Open Eyes. Hey everyone, welcome to Open Eyes.
Hey everyone, welcome back to your favorite podcast, Open Eyes. And I hope that you are loving our video content and enjoying the podcast. So, this is your host, Alexis Lugo, and I wanted to talk about who has ever gotten bullied. If it's not online, if it's not when you were in school, or maybe later in life in the workplace, maybe not straightly to your face exactly, but maybe behind your back, or have gotten like a snarky comment about yourself. I want to know if you could relate. I wanted to talk about my experiences being bullied when I was in elementary school and when I was in high school, things like that throughout my life. I wanted to share my experiences. So I wanted to start out with when I was in elementary school. I mostly was bullied on like the way I looked, the way that I was short, the way that they always, like about my weight and things like that. I was always bullied in elementaries when I think it started a little bit, and I always was asked, like also bullied about, because on my arms I have scars from something that I had from birth, and I always was asked when I was in elementary, like, what are those scars and what happened, or why do you have those scars? And to be honest, I didn't know I had to be like 6 or 7 or 8 years old, having to explain myself each and every time when I met a new friend, or each and every time I met someone new. I always had to let them know, like, what are those scars and what happened and things like that. I always was asked, and I was made fun of about it and things like that. And I think that's when it started. Like when I was like in fourth grade, I was bullied because I the way I look, I was a thicker girl than anybody else in my school, and there was other girls that were thicker than me. Like they were, and those were, and it's sadly that after, like when I was in elementary and middle school, those were the girls that mainly picked on me. The girls that were even bigger than me, and I was like, oh, why are they picking at me if they're worse than me? I don't understand. That was also like always an issue I had. I was like, I was never bullied by like the popular girl, the skinny girl. Like it was always the girl that was bigger than me, and I was like, you're worse than me. Like why are you picking on me about like how my body looks if you're even worse than me? And I think that's when it started. One situation was I was in fourth grade, and I was playing in the playground area with a friend, and then my friend's friend, picked on me because I think it was Halloween or something, or it was like something that we would dress up. And when I was younger, we would go to like after school program, and you would do activities like basketball, dance, cheer, things like that, acting, like just to do after school. And I think there was something, I think it was Halloween or something, that I dressed up because I was like, it's just for like after school, like no competition, but I was on the cheer team, and I think I wore it to school or something. And she made a comment being like, oh, I didn't know they made uniforms in your size. And I was like, what? Like I was like, back then I didn't say anything. I was like very shy as a kid. I never was confrontational. I was very shy, very quiet, very to myself when I was a kid. And I didn't say anything. I just walked away, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. I just walked away. And I think as a kid you would just cry. I think I did cry. And I was like, well, why is she picking at me if she's bigger than me? Like there's no form of her picking on me. And that was one incident when I was in the third grade, fourth grade. And then yeah, I also had an incident when I was in middle school, where like these girls made fun of me because I think we in our school we had to wear uniforms, and I was wearing some shorts, and she's like, oh, I didn't know, like, girls, like, you could wear shorts like that. And I'm like, but it's not like booty shorts or anything. It's like, it was to my knee. And I was like, I didn't, and I was like, well, you're saying that girls that are plus size can't wear shorts? In my mindset, but since I was a very shy kid to myself, I wasn't a person to speak up. I was never like a person to stand up for myself. I never was a person to be like, oh, like, speak up or say something, or go to someone and tell them, oh, this person is bullying me for this and that. I stayed to myself for so many years, and that's not healthy. Please, if you're being bullied at school or anywhere online, let somebody know if it's really bothering you, in a mindset of, oh, this is hurting my self-esteem, it's hurting my confidence in a way. And so yeah, make sure if you are dealing with that, get some help in some form. And I realized that later in life, and not recently. So I also, in high school, I think as a person that's like a teenager, you're trying to fit in with others, and you're trying to do things that like brings joy to you, and you're trying to get out of your shell and grow and learn as a person. But it doesn't help when you're being bullied on the way you look. I've always been a thicker girl, but a lot of people think, oh, just because she doesn't like exercise, she doesn't diet or things like that. No, that was the opposite all my life. I've done any form of diet you can think of, and it's hurt a little bit of my relationship with food, but that's a growing process, and I think we all learn from it. Like, oh, this affected me in this form, and then, oh, I can grow from it. So when I was my freshman year of high school, I still was a little shy person, and I just stuck to my little friend group of 3 or 4 friends, and I never was a person to branch out. I never was that leader in a friend group. I was just like, oh yeah, like I'm a very go with the flow person still, but I think since my very first time as being bullied, I changed. I was like, oh, they're bullying me, so I have to change a mindset of, oh, I just gonna go with the flow, and like not anyone like let me not be a leader in some form or things like that. Your mindset changes in that form, like, oh, they're picking on me, okay, so I'm the problem, so I have to change. I think if anyone is being bullied, you feel that mindset of, oh, I'm the problem, so that's why they're picking on me, or that's why they're saying things about me, because I'm the issue. But in reality, it's them, that maybe they have an insecurity, maybe something's not going their way that day, or someone, like something in their household, or you never know what they're going through. I think that's what you get, that mindset of, oh, it's not me, it's maybe them, or things like that. You start to think, and then like that really hurts your self-esteem, your confidence in any form. So I was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of being in the group. I want to be the leader for once. So that's like when I changed my mindset. I was like, I'm tired of just following the crowd and things like that. And so I started going into groups. In my high school, I joined the color guard, which is like dance, but with the high school band. I started going into different clubs and things that I really liked that like helped me, oh, so I can be a leader in this form, or like, oh, I can make more friends than my 3 or 4 little friends that I had since elementary. Like, I think I had like, oh, like I'm getting praise because I'm doing something that I love, or I was getting praise because, oh, like I was showing a form of expression in a different way. Things like that, I think I learned, that made me feel out of my shell, like made me feel more confident, being like, oh, okay, there's people on my corner, on my side, being like, yeah, that maybe gone through the same experiences and things like that. And yeah, I think people don't, like, every person that's like picks at you on the way you look in form of weight. I think we're always gonna struggle with that, any form of reality, but most people don't know what someone's going through. Like, people just think, oh, she like doesn't care on the way she's like eating healthy or doesn't care to be healthy, things like that. I'm like, no, it's the total opposite. Like, they don't know what someone's going through. Like, all my life I've struggled with my weight, but that's not because I didn't want to fix my weight. It was because I have like health conditions that prohibited me from like my weight fluctuating every time. So I don't like want to say, oh, it's just because of that. Like, I always was afraid to be like, no, it's because of this and that, and I never wanted to explain myself because it does get daunting. It does get tiring of saying the same thing and having to defend yourself every single time you meet someone new and picks on you. That's so exhausting. Like, and so I kind of changed my outlook after I branched out of my little shell, out of my shyness. I was like, okay, I can be a leader. So I changed my mindset of always being positive and that attitude of, okay, I'm going to change because I'm going to change for myself. I'm not doing it to please others, and that mindset as well. So in adulthood, I've been more like, oh, very outgoing, very introduced. Like, I've been the person that introduced myself to someone new, try to make new friends, because, you know, as an adult, it's so hard to make new friends after you get out of high school. And also in the workplace, being very inviting, being very welcoming, being like, oh, how can I help you in this, and this? And I look back when I was younger, and I'm like, that I never would have done that in my lifetime. And I realized, oh, like, I can be a leader too. I can put my foot forward and be like, okay, and push those bullies aside. And also be like, oh, I know this, I'm going to have to, like, always say something because I have something that is, like, very, like, prominent. And that goes for anything. And if you have a disability, if you have a physical, like, that, like, makes you stand out, and things like that. I always had to talk about my scars, and I was told at the age of 18 that I can remove them. And in my mindset, I was like, why am I going to remove them if I've always had them for so long? Like, they're almost not even visible anymore. And I'm like, I struggled with everyone asking me about them. Like, no, I'm going to wear them loud and proud, and I don't care. If anyone asks me again, like, I'm going to tell them, and that's just a part of my life, part of my story. And also that goes when I was diagnosed with a disability, and I was going legally blind, and then I was also a junior and senior in high school. And it was hard because I had to, like, still try to act normal, like, still try to finish my high school experience, still try to make the best of it, but also at the same time, I was going through something so hard for myself. Most of my senior year, I was doing testing. I was doing a lot of testing medically, like physically, and I had to, like, retrain basically change my life in 360. And I know people, like, I am so thankful if you, like, started from birth. I'm so jealous, like, because you've gone through the training, you've gone through the struggles, and, like, I know people have had harder struggles than I've had. I've heard stories of how their, like, adolescence and their early childhood was, and how they were bullied in certain ways. And I think that's always, like, hard for someone. I can relate in some form. If it's not visually, it was from physically or things like that. So I want to know if you could relate. If you've ever been bullied in some form of way, just know that there's a lot of support, that you can trust anybody that you feel comfortable with. And yeah, let someone know earlier if you're being bullied, because you never know. It's good to have someone, if it's like your best friend, if it's your parent, is it like maybe a therapist, you know, like what is your, like, whatever comforts you. So I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. So make sure to rate, subscribe, like on Spotify, and please give us a 5-star rating if you love this podcast. And also make sure to follow us on Instagram at open.eyes23, and that is open.eyes23 on Instagram. And make sure to also follow us on TikTok, which is OpenEyes23. And that's OpenEyes23 on TikTok. And also, if you ever want to share maybe an experience you've had with vision loss or your journey with vision loss, make sure to send us an email. And any questions you have, or if you want to share your story, that is openeyespodcast@gmail.com. openeyespodcast@gmail.com. And thank you so much for listening to our podcast.